everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the regular public meeting of Dieppe City Council. Where are we? What is the date today? It's August 11th. August already? Yes, August 11th. So, yeah, well, let's continue on then with the meeting. And we'll start by saying that the City of Dieppe recognizes that the land on which it operates is part of the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. And dear colleagues, let's have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Once again, good evening and welcome to everybody. We'll get started with a call to order and the confirmation of quorum. Yes, we do have quorum, Your Worship. Any conflicts of interest this evening? No declarations of conflict of interest by anybody? Any members of council? Okay. Well, if not, but if so, speak up now. If not, let's move on to the adoption of the agenda. Would somebody like to move the adoption of the agenda? It's been moved and seconded. So on the question, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. So we are now in session, and we're in a public session and not a closed session. Presentations, inquiries, and petitions. Mr. Melanson, yes, Your Worship. Before we move on to the two presentations here, but one from the RCMP and the second public hearing, we wanted to give a message to the community on behalf of Chief Cormier. And we are in an extreme heat situation. There are fires in New Brunswick. The public notice was issued this afternoon. I just wanted to ask Chief Cormier to share the message with everybody. We want the people in Dieppe to be aware of the situation. Good evening. Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, CAO and members of council. We sent a news release out on the wildfires, the extreme risk of wildfires. I would like to share a message of public interest with you on the current situation and the decisions we made today on the trail system in New Brunswick. Currently, there is a fire in Irishtown, which does not threaten the situation of the population of Dieppe, but there is extreme dryness and a high risk of fires in the forest. So we'd like to announce the closure of certain trails and sports facilities. The Rotary Park in Saint-Anselme, all of the trails are closed except the park. The park will remain open, but barbecues are not allowed. Bonaventure Park and all of its trails are closed. Le Faisan Park between Richard and Melanson Street is closed. The disc golf field on Lakeburn and Mathieu Martin, as well as the wooded trails on Richard Rue, Melanson Road, Dieppe Boulevard, Aquatique Street, Doreen Crescent, Bourque Road, Gulf Street, Maurice Street, Rue Boisé, Centrale, Rue Vanier, and Avant-Garde. The open trails, such as the Riverside Trail, are open. The neighborhood party scheduled for August 12th in the Rotary Park is cancelled. We currently have members of the fire service from the municipality who are helping out in Irishtown. We've been there for 2 days to help them there. And we expect to send our firefighters there tomorrow as well. We're going to follow the evolution of the situation, and in collaboration with the provincial officials, we want to make sure that everybody is safe, and we'd like to thank residents for their understanding and their cooperation. The province of New Brunswick has shared a dashboard on their website. It's at gnb.ca/. Wildfire index, and there you can get an idea of the situation throughout the province and more specifically in Irishtown. I'd like to take this opportunity to to give our support to the people who have been impacted by these wildfires. Our thoughts are with you in these very stressful times. I'd also like to thank all firefighters who work relentlessly in these very difficult, extreme situations. And I'd like to remind the population of Dieppe, as well as the whole province, that there is a burn ban currently until further notice. Perhaps we're expecting rain perhaps on August 20th, but it'll take a lot of rain to reverse the situation. So thank you, the measures that have been taken to ensure everybody's safety. And in closing, I'd like to remind you that if you see any signs of fire, whether it's a flame or smoke, immediately call 911 so that we can get there as quickly as possible. Now, on the weather conditions and the heat, we're going to discuss it again tomorrow, but we'd like to remind citizens that the facilities of the city are open to the public, where there is air conditioning, and normally, I mean, this is what we do whenever there is a heat wave like today and tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from members of council? Councillor Godbout. Thank you. I'd like to clarify one of the news releases on the Rotary Park. When you say the trails are closed, but the park is open, what do you mean by the park is open? Do you mean the children's area, the play area, and where they can go on the bike, on the bicycle trail right by there on the track? That's open? No, that's closed. That's part of the trail system. The BMX trail, that's closed, the BMX trail? Yeah, the park itself is open, but the building and around the lake, the splash park is open, and we'll assess that as we go along. But everything that is on the left-hand side and all of the trails, everything there is closed. Thank you. Councillor Jeannet. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for this information that you shared with us this evening. I have a question on the communication in case of an emergency. I've observed how citizens in the region communicate. Sometimes it seems to me that there's a lot of disinformation. And perhaps if you could explain which communications you can trust if there's an emergency, and who should we look at? Where should we go? The main site for they'll talk about possible evacuations or emergency preparedness is the EMO site. That's the only site people should really refer to. EMO is the agency that is responsible for it, and so when they send instructions, they put them on their website, and that's what we would encourage people to refer to. So anything that is issued by the municipality is also a reliable source of information, right? I'm just trying to remind people that you have to be careful and just listen to what comes from official sources and not just rumors that are going around. Yes, there was a news release that came out today, and the official communique is on our website. We're also published on video, and we just prepared a video. As you know, there are a number of videos on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and so on. We prepared a video as well, and we just published it. We put it up on the website 2 minutes ago, but we just have all the information there that Chief Cormier just shared with us, but in a tone that is accessible so that people can get clear information and as much information as possible. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Anybody else? If not, well, thank you once again for the information. And speaking of information, we're going to go to another type of information. The information, the presentation by the RCMP. Good evening. Good evening to Sergeant Cormier. No, I'm sorry. Langis. Sorry. Sergeant Langis. Good evening, Your Worship, Mr. CAO, councilors, members of the public. I'd like to start by following up on the last meeting when my colleague Sergeant Sylvette Hébert was here. I think Councillor Cormier had asked questions on the helmet use on the trails. Well, wearing a helmet on the trails in the Dieppe area is not regulated. These trails are not highways as defined by the Highway Traffic Act. Only municipal bylaws would regulate helmet use. And the same thing applies to speed limits. The speed limit of 15 kilometers per hour is suggested by the city of Dieppe, but it's not an offense to ride faster than that. And now complaints about e-scooters. Here are the complaints that we've received over the last year. A scooter driver was hit by a truck and the truck did not stop in Moncton. There was a complaint about the noise caused by youth on scooters in Moncton. 16s were riding scooters slowly on Gauvin Street in Dieppe. A 7-year-old is reported riding a scooter on High Street in Moncton. 3 youth on e-scooters were not following the rules of the road in Moncton. 2 young people reported riding their e-scooters on the street in Moncton. An 8-year-old is reported riding his e-scooter without a helmet for the last 2 years in Moncton. Youth on an e-scooter not wearing a helmet in Riverview. 5 collisions were reported in Moncton, 1 in Dieppe, and more recently on August 6th, there was a collision between 2 e-bikes on the Gunningsville Bridge, and the 2 individuals involved were seriously injured. Given this information, I would not be prepared to say that this is a problem for the police at this time. Suggestion, the city could perhaps promote safety on the trails online while waiting for regulations to be implemented. And now to follow up on a question asked by Councillor Lantaigne on thefts. To answer your question about thefts in Dieppe, there has been an increase of 0.15% in thefts from vehicles. 66 thefts were reported in 2024 compared to 67 in 2025. Now, in terms of residential theft here, we're talking about businesses, cottages, residences. Between July and December 2024, there were 80 thefts reported to the police. Between January and June 2025, we received 58 reports. There's nothing to report from the community policing services. Now, the crime reduction unit. On July 23rd, Kodiak Crime Reduction Unit assisted in the patrol section in drafting and executing a search warrant under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act in Moncton. Earlier in the day, the patrol members had assisted the sheriff's office in evicting 2 individuals. And while they were clearing the residence, patrol members observed drug paraphernalia in plain view. The execution of the warrant resulted in the seizure of approximately 1 ounce of cocaine, drug trafficking, paraphernalia, counterfeit bills, and equipment and tools used to manufacture counterfeit bills. 1 individual is currently in custody under an unapproved warrant, and the second is to be arrested. On July 29th, Kodiak CRU received a call reporting a stolen vehicle from Moncton located in Salisbury. CRU was deployed along with the RCMP helicopter and the RCMP from Caledonia. When the police arrived, a second stolen vehicle was observed at the scene. 1 of the cars was immobilized by the police and the second vehicle fled. At that point, 2 individuals known to the RCMP were arrested. The second vehicle was apprehended a few minutes later on Highway 126. 2 individuals, young offenders also known to the RCMP, were arrested. 2 police officers sustained minor injuries during the operation. 1 of the 4 individuals was released by the police with conditions. 1 of the young offenders is currently incarcerated pending his bail hearing scheduled for August 15th. Another young offender was released by the judge and faces several charges. The fourth individual, an adult, is currently in custody awaiting his bail hearing scheduled for August 11th. Now, the General Investigation Section, GIS, on August 9th, 2025, Kodiak responded to a residence on Louis Street in Dieppe following a break-in during which a tenant was sprayed with pepper spray. One of the tenants was also assaulted with a weapon and required medical attention. The GIS responded and is conducting an investigation, which is still ongoing. In August 2025, a 36-year-old man from Dieppe was sentenced to 90 days in prison, 12 months of probation, and a $200 surcharge following charges of invitation to sexual touching on a person under the age of 16. Major Crimes Unit. In June 2023, a 26-year-old man was killed in a residence on Louis Street in Dieppe. 3 individuals were subsequently arrested and charged in connection with the murder. Kyle Smith Kinsley was found guilty of second-degree murder. He will serve a life sentence. Brandon Leblanc pleaded guilty to manslaughter and robbery with a firearm. He will be sentenced in September 2025. The third defendant, Adam Robichaud, pleaded guilty to 1 count of accessory after the fact to armed robbery. The patrol. The Moncton area hosted the Atlantic Nationals car show, which attracted a number of people from across the 3 communities. Members of the province's Tactical Traffic Enforcement Unit were deployed for the event, which took place between July 11th and 13th. Here are the results of this exercise. 304 fines were issued, including 83 warnings. These fines were related to speeding violations, 63, no inspection certificate, 61, tinted windows, 31, use of a cell phone, 28, seatbelt use, 31, uninsured vehicle, 8, and various other offenses. 40 vehicles were towed following speeding violations of more than 50 kilometers per hour. On August 6, 2025, a serious collision claimed the lives of 4 young people on the causeway. Another individual involved in the collision escaped with minor injuries, and the investigation is ongoing. We would like to remind motorists to always be alert when on the road. And that's all. Yeah. You've been very busy recently. Any questions from Council? Councillor Godbout, thank you. Thank you for the report. When you only get a report once a month, it accumulates. We used to get the reports every 2 weeks, but you know, you have to understand that. But thank you very much for all your great work. I have a follow-up question too. It's not quite as serious as what was in your report, but a number of citizens have mentioned to me that on Fox Street and Melançon streets, there's some youth who are playing a game who, you know, when people try to go faster when they, where there's a speed indication. Some people play a game and try and see how fast they can go. Perhaps you could increase your patrols on there. Well, yes, sure, but if you could give me a specific time that they play these games, these youth. Well, yes, I'll ask, but it's mostly in the evenings and on Sunday afternoons. I think it's evenings and weekends, and I'll try and get that information. I'll contact you directly. On Fox Creek Road, going up towards Melançon, there's a speed indication. The speed, so people try and get it to go over 100. So it seems to be a dangerous game anyhow. So if you could look into that, we would appreciate it.
Monsieur Godet.
Councillor Godet. Yeah, just a follow-up on the helmets. And so on the trails. So these are all of the trails throughout Dieppe, right? It's Dieppe that would need to regulate that. But people have to go on a street to go on a trail. So I know we're trying to organize meetings between the three municipalities to decide what we're going to do, but I think people should have to wear helmets in any case, right? Well, I'm looking at Stephanie because I know we're discussing with Moncton and Riverview on the issue of a bylaw for the e-scooters, but I don't know if you have anything more specific that you can share with us, or are you still working on it?
C'est encore en développement, mais pour le port du casque, je pense qu'on peut s'attendre que ce soit un élément.
Yeah, we're still working on it, where it's being developed. Any further questions?
Monsieur Brideau.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. Sergeant Longis, last weekend, I received a complaint, once again, from the Irving gas bar, the convenience store at the corner. And it would seem that last week there were 16 homeless people who ended up behind the garage. They broke in and they tried to get them out, but one of the guys took a knife out and told them, "You'd better shut up." So they called the police, but they didn't come. When do we know we can count on the RCMP? Why didn't the RCMP bother to go to the site? And those who was working at the counter, I mean, he's not a young man. And he said, now I'm afraid to come to work, because if you talk to them, the homeless people, if you talk to them, they threaten you. And are they waiting for us when we close up at night? I mean, we're not safe anymore. It's not safe to come work in the nights or in the evening. So he was so frustrated when he complained to me that I wasn't able to find out exactly which night this happened, but I said I'm going to mention it to the RCMP at council, but I want to make sure that this kind of situation is not ongoing, that it doesn't repeat itself, because it seems that I mean, they've been kicked out of Moncton, it would seem, and now all of a sudden they're behind our service station. And so before we get any more serious cases, I mean, well, this is already very serious. I mean, if somebody complains that they're afraid for their life, I mean, that's pretty important. So is there a possibility to share these concerns with the RCMP? And I can ask him the exact date of the incident, but he said we weren't able to get the RCMP. We didn't even get an answer. Well, that is alarming. Normally, I would say that when somebody calls saying that there's been a weapon taken out, then the RCMP responds immediately. So I don't know all of the facts here, but normally if an incident requires the presence of the police, we go there immediately. Now, I don't know the details, so I can't answer specifically, but of course, if you could give us more information, is it the Irving 64 Champlain Street? So if we're able to get the exact date and the time of the incident, I'll follow up. But right now, any incident that requires the police in the greater Moncton area, we do go. Now, also, they mentioned that 6 or 7 of them entered the convenience store at the same time. And you know, that building is it's long, and so they knew that the guys had filled their pockets with all sorts of things. But when you have 6 or 7 of them all at once that come in who are filling their pockets, you don't want to try and stop them. It becomes impossible. But it's just, I found it very unfortunate when he said that he called the RCMP and the RCMP did not show up. at all. So he said that it's a point where it's not even worth calling them because they don't come. They don't respond. So I just want to make sure that the message gets through to whoever it should. Yes, of course, we could easily find the date and see what happens, see what happened. And we could look at the cameras as well. Yeah, we'll follow up on that. But it's alarming to know that this even took place, this incident. And if it's the case, we're going to have to do something. But usually, yes, if there's an incident, specifically if somebody takes a weapon out, we respond very quickly. But I'll check our files, all the files, everything that's been reported about the Irving on Champlain. And if you could give us the date and the time, that would be helpful. Yes, of course. He was so specific. He said, I counted 16 people behind the building. There were a whole gang of them, 16. Normally, I would suggest that you call and not confront 16 people, especially if it's nighttime and it's dark out there. I mean, call the police before you put yourself in a situation that is unsafe, especially when somebody takes a knife out. Yes, we'll make sure that we get the date and we'll send the date to Sergeant Langis. Thank you, Councillor Goodboe. Yes, two things. Thank you. Yes, my citizen came back to me and said on Fox Creek Road between 4 and 5 last week and at 10 o'clock at night. So it's so between 4 and 5 in the evening and at 10 o'clock at night. So and I'd like to thank Councillor Brideau for having raised the question of as representative of the CRPA here. I'd like to remind people that from what we understand, when a call is made by a citizen, it's all immediately classified according to 4 categories, and we have targets. Our regional police force has targets, and when something is category 1 or 2, which an armed a weapon threat with a weapon would be category 1 or 2, the target is very, very short. The response time is very, very short, and they're meeting all of their targets. So I'm surprised that there wasn't a reaction in this situation, and if there wasn't, well, we have to follow up. And I encourage you to give the information to the RCMP because they take this very seriously, and they do follow up immediately, and we follow up on their performance, for example, because it would be very concerning, very worrying if they didn't do that. But I'd just like to remind the population that the response rate is very high, and this is an exceptional service that we receive from our police service currently. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we'll have to work on that. Thank you once again for coming this evening. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like, but we understand if you'd prefer to leave. Thank you very much. So now at item 80.2, public hearing, proposed amendments to the municipal development plan. And no, where am I? No, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong line here. Public hearing, yes, 8.2 on the proposed amendments to the municipal development plan.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire et
membres du
Conseil.
Okay, thank you. And
en audience publique pour les 2 projets d'arrêté qui sont énumérés devant vous. Donc,
in public hearings for the proposed amendments to municipal plan, Plan Z9, zoning bylaw, and bylaw Z10, 2021-14. So once again, the objective of this public hearing is to put you back into context and do an overview of the process of the timeline, give some context to the application, and also tell you what the lot situations are and the proposed amendments. So you have in front of you here the timeline, and we've opened the file back in June. There was a public presentation on June 23rd. We're now in the public hearing. The next step will be to appear before the Advisory Planning Committee on August 20th, and the council decision will be made by September 8th of this year. So here is a request which is a realignment of zoning lines with lot lines. It's a fairly administrative matter. The zoning bylaw gives us some latitude to bring some changes to the zoning map and the plot configurations, so it allows this council to authorize changes to both of these maps. So you have here an overview of how the situation, and on the left side, you can see the situation where the zoning map has two zones, Zone A and Zone B. And so with the new subdivision, some lots are cut in a mismatched way and overlap other zones. This can bring up problems where there is a use projected for a certain lot, and then behind the usage is not clear, or the standards and requirements mean that there are some challenges that are being raised for the development plan. We want to resolve this problem, which occurs from time to time when it happens around the subdivision question. So the application here is on two properties which are near Dieppe Boulevard. As you can see with this slide you have in front of you, that these lands are new properties which are in yellow lines, and the change here would be that all those properties would have the same zoning, so zoning R4. Once again here, you can see the same situation has occurred on the new road. On the Progrès Road, there is a new line, and the zoning line here has crossed the proposed lots, and see the purpose of the amendment is to make these two properties, which is you can see in red on this line, this will become entirely R4 zone. There's another situation on Leblanc Road where you can see what is happening within the rectangle, the yellow outline, where we found an overlap, partly in R1 and R2 zones. These two zonings allow single-family dwellings, and in Zone R2, it is found within the urban perimeter, and in the RA zone, it is found outside the urban perimeter. And given the fact that there is no service for the existing property, we recommended to council to rezone the R2 zone to an RA zone and have the connection to water and sewage services, because localizing existing services are 60 meters from the property line. It's not a usage matter, but more of wanting to provide an individual stay on an existing property to connect to water and sewage services. So you have the amendment to the zoning map, which would go from CM to R4 in the context of the two situations along the Progrès Street and Murray. And the second amendment would be to go from the two-family residential zone, R2, to rural area, RA. So this concludes the public hearing. I simply want to note that according to what as far as we know, we have no objections from members of the public, but I will let the clerk confirm that. So that is the situation. There are no objections. We have no comments either. Is there a resolution? No, the process continues for the time being. Questions? Yes, Councillor Godbout. Thank you for this presentation. I just have a question about the second situation. Zoning R2 to RA? No, sorry, CM to R4. Yes? If I've understood this scenario, the current CM is R4. That's right. And if we look, we're along Dieppe Boulevard, correct. And all of a sudden, you're creating an R4 along Dieppe Boulevard, which is surrounded by CM. What's the logic behind that? What is the advantage there where we could subdivide where the road is and then the main part of the property would remain CM over Dieppe Boulevard, which is consistency for Dieppe Boulevard. I find this a somewhat special approach. I just want to note here that it's just only the red part. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Oh, I was looking at the yellow. It's only this yellow, this red part. Yes, this will become R4. Well, I couldn't understand why that was happening. Okay, I see the red part now. So it's an amendment to zoning will have no effect on Dieppe Boulevard. Okay, I didn't understand that, but I do now, so thank you. It's excellent. Is that it? I think so. All right, let's move on then. Are there any questions about this issue? It does not seem that there are. So let's move on to questions by members of the public. Any questions by members of the vast public here with us tonight? Nothing? Let's move on. Neither by phone or web. Nobody wants to speak to us these days. It's great weather. So, adoption of minutes for the regular council meetings, which was held July 14 last. We have a motion moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Genet on the question. There being none, all those in favor of the resolution will say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Resolution is passed as presented. We'll move on to item 11, motions, memorandums, and nominations. Mr. Mélenchon, the first file is administration. We are ratification of directives adopted at closed meetings. So once they've been ratified, we made them public. So this is the agreement with the YQM Country Fest. 5 elements that I'll bring out that's happening in this agreement. So first of all, it's a 5-year agreement. Good news, in fact, that we are guaranteeing 5 years of festival in our community. We have a municipal contribution of $300,000 in funding and services offered by the municipality, which represent another $100,000. A new element, which is part of this agreement, there is a community organization which is going to be organizing a 50-50 raffle. People who attend the festival can win up to 50% of the amount, and a community group will do this fundraising. Pardon me. So this is going to be very successful. Pardon me. Also, there's a system in place to have real-time access to ticket purchases to make sure there's control and adequate standards in place for activities of this size, and there's control in the environment at the entry to make sure that everything is done so that when you come to the site, you either have a pass or a ticket for the day or for the weekend, and that tickets are used by the right people. So these are the key components of the agreement. Everything else is the same, and we're happy to say that both parties have signed the agreement, and we want to share that with you. And with the adoption this evening, then it'll go into effect. Thank you. To read this matter, Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council ratified the directive adopted at a closed meeting of Council concerning the following topic: Agreement in Principle, YQM Country Fest, adopted October 15, 2024. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question. Any further questions? All those in favor of the resolution will say aye. Against, nay. Resolution is carried as presented. 11.1. Community development. With the festival, which is happening very soon, every year, they come to Council to ask for temporary street closures, and they will happen around the event site. And so there's a plan which is attached to the memorandum. There will be some advertising on the city website and also the YQM Country Fest website. There will be signage around showing where people can park. So we want to advise the public that there will be some temporary street closures once the event happens. So this will authorize that these temporary closures will be advertised. Thank you. To read the motion. Councillor Lantagne, let me find your mic button. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council accept the temporary street closure plan entitled YQM Country Fest 2025 Traffic Plan attached to the memorandum dated July 23, 2025 for the event to be held August 21 to August 23, 2025 at Music Arts site. I so move. Moved by Councillor Lantagne, seconded by Councillor Minot. On the question. Question, Councillor Brideau. My question is for our director. There will be road closures. We understand that. Is Notre Dame Street, those that are under construction right now in the neighborhood, will this work be concluded on Notre Dame in time? There was a lot of traffic there last year. We asked the CIO who has more information, but there are alternatives. We have some information to add, but we have met with engineering services who are aware of street closures. The only one that concerns us is the one that you just mentioned. What we've understood is that the work will not be happening on the YQM festival days. There will not be work. The big machines will be away once the traffic is circulating, but the work has not yet been concluded. Because like last year, College Street was partially closed as well. Yes, Collège will be closed, Notre Dame from de Champlain, because cars, at the end of the event, were coming thick and fast. We hope there will be some traffic control. The taxis had priority for these streets. Yes, we have this problem everywhere. So it's in this sector, for YQM parking, it's slow. We're going to do the best that we can with the resources that we have. Clearly, this area means that there will be a lot of people there. Another question asked by Gold Street residents. This year, will there be security along that street? Because last year, there were young people who were going through the yards of various people to jump over the fences. So we don't have security along the street, but we have some fencing because the residents complained from College Street to behind. So we have put up more fencing, and people will going through houses to go to Gold Street. And so there will be fencing and to slow down the traffic coming out on College Street. And this fencing will be at, barricades will be at appropriate points. Thank you. There's no resolution for that. Yes, moved by Councillor Lantagne, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you. For the vote, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Against, nay. Resolution is carried as presented. This brings us now to item 11.3.1, signing authority. Yes, here, in order to simplify this memorandum of understanding, this will allow us to clear up the roles and responsibilities for the installation of the food garden, for who will be in charge. This project was partly financed by the Regional Resiliency Green Spaces Working Group, so we reinvested the funding that came to the municipality and to allow new development of partnerships with groups, with Rogers and Vitalité. And so we want to make sure that this will be done. And so we talk about all that has been done along the Charlesville-Pascal trails, which shows the green trail to the aquatic center. There's a partnership there. So it's valid to put this signing authority and memorandum of understanding into place. Thank you. To read this resolution, Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council authorized the municipal signing officers to sign the memorandum of understanding between the City of Dieppe and the Regional Resiliency Green Spaces Working Group, Government of New-Brunswick, for the installation and maintenance of a food garden near the Aquatic and Sports Center. I so move, Your Worship. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Genet on the question. There being none, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Against, nay. Resolution is passed as presented. Under 11.4.1, Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, voting members. Mr. Melançon, the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick wanted to clearly identify those who represent each municipality that are members of UMNB. So this evening, we identified that the person appointed as the voting member is the mayor or the deputy mayor as alternate. So we make it official who has the voting rights at the AGM of the UMNB. It's a new procedure that the UMNB has put into place lately and presented at the council, and that we have confirmed that this is the case. So the directive is for approval this evening. Thank you. To read the resolution, Councillor Lantagne. Thank you, Your Worship. The Dieppe City Council appoint its mayor as the voting member at meetings of the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, the UMNB, and its deputy mayor appointed as the alternate voting member. I so move. Moved by Councillor Lantagne, seconded by Councillor Genet. On the question, all those in favor will say aye. Against, nay. The resolution is passed as presented. 11.5. Point 1, planning and development. This is establishing a date for a public meeting and a public presentation to see the municipal development plan bylaw, which will be held on September 8th next for a public presentation, and that the consultation or the
soit
CCU
demandé, puis on demande
be
prolongement
requested to
de
provide an
cette
opinion
décision au
over
27
the
octobre 2025.
development, and that this meeting be held on
Et on
October
aura l'audience
27,
publique ici
2025.
formellement
The public hearing
le
will
14
be
octobre
formally held
prochain à
here
19
on
heures, ici
October
même à l'Hôtel de
14
Ville.
at 7
Et
p.m.
ici, c'est
here
pour
at City
apporter des
Hall
modifications au texte
to
dans les
bring
zones
proposed
R1 et
amendments
R2
to
au niveau
bylaws
de
Zone
logement
9, Zone
abordable
10,
et les
with
fondations
regard
bâties.
development of up to
Merci pour la lecture,
affordable
Madame
housing.
Le
Thank
Boutillier.
you. To read this motion, Councillor Le Boutillier.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Thank you, Your Worship. That Council schedule a public presentation on September 8, 2025 at 7 p.m. at Dieppe City Hall to present the proposed amendments to the text of the Municipal Development Plan Bylaw Z9 and schedule a public hearing on October 14, 2025 at 7 p.m. at Dieppe City Hall to hear objections to the proposed amendments to the text of the Municipal Development Plan Bylaw Z9 2017 and Zoning Bylaw Z10 2021 in order to allow in a single unit dwelling the development of up to 3 accessory dwellings in addition to the main dwelling unit in R1 and R2 zones. That Council requests the written views of the Planning Advisory Committee and extend the deadline pursuant to Section 1103 of the Community Planning Act to October 27, 2025 with regard to the above-mentioned project. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Lantang, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. There being none, all those in favor of this resolution will signify by saying aye. Against nay. The resolution is carried as presented. Now,
l'item 11.5 qu'on vient de faire.
11.5 we've just done.
Au 12,
move on to 12 municipal bylaws.
Oui, ici, l'arrêté
Yes,
C1.
this is bylaw C1.
C'est la croix qu'on est déjà rendu là, mais on pense déjà au stationnement
Well, here
d'hiver.
we're already thinking about winter parking. It's not the right week to be bringing this up, but here you have a bylaw proposal which implements a system exists in our two sister communities when snow removal becomes necessary. So amendments have been brought forward to the bylaw. It provides the power and authority to the municipality to provide advice about communicating with the public. And we recommend that we do first and second reading by title alone. At the next meeting, we will have a summary which will give us a review of all the changes being brought forward. But basically, it's winter parking and that when it's necessary to remove vehicles. Thank you. To read this, Councillor Godet. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw C1 2025, a bylaw relating to the traffic and parking in the city of Dieppe. I move first reading by title alone. Thank you. Moved first reading by title alone. Will you keep your hand raised, please, Councillor? So seconded by Councillor Brideau. I'm sorry, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. There being none, all those in, pardon me, Councillor Thibodeau, question? Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of months ago, Councillor Turgeon and I brought forth the issue that parking along some streets in the winter, specifically Nathalie Street, for those who park on both sides of the street, and this is a street that turns like this, so there's no way of seeing if something is coming. And so I had requested that to see if there wasn't a way to ban parking at least on one side of the street. I wanted to come out of my street and someone was parked right at the stop, close to the stop sign. I couldn't see absolutely anything. So can something be done about that? So it's a danger to park only on one side of the street, at least, you know, that part of the street which is fairly crooked. Do you have an answer for that question?
Microphone est dur à trouver. Et voilà, merci.
How to find your microphone? Okay, here we go.
Pour la rue Nathalie,
On Nathalie Street, personally, I haven't asked it to be studied, but the process we follow is that when someone brings this forward to our attention, we refer to engineering. They go on site to see if these standards are being complied with. They make a proposal to tell us if parking has to be changed or not. If it hasn't already been done, I will ensure that it is done and that we will follow up. On Nathalie, I think you started to mention the name of another street. Or was it only Nathalie? Oh, there's other streets. Keith Street. People tell me that it's dangerous in the winter because cars park on both sides of the street and it's difficult for snow removal. We'll begin that process. So it's been noted, and so it's been moved and seconded by Councillor Brideau. Councillor Brideau.
Alors, est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions?
So, any further questions?
Sinon, ceux qui sont en faveur de la résolution.
There are none.
De la résolution,
All those in favor
par un oui.
of this resolution will say aye.
Contraire par un non.
Against nay.
Alors, la résolution est adoptée ou l'arrêté
This
est
resolution
adopté
is
en première,
passed.
Lecture.
First reading by title
Et,
alone.
On va passer à la deuxième lecture.
And let's move on now to the second reading by title alone. Thank you, Worship. Bylaw C1 2025, a bylaw relating to the traffic and parking in the city of Dieppe. I so move that second reading be held by title alone. Moved to read second reading by title alone, seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question, we won't repeat the same thing, but we'll take into consideration clearly once we undertake this study. So all those in favor of the bylaw in second reading will say aye or against nay. So that motion is passed. Let's move on to, we're going to certainly assess the situation. There are notices of motions. There are two notices of motion. We simply want to read these notices of motion so that the two bylaws will be on the agenda for the next meeting of council. Fine. Let's ask Councillor.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Thank you. You're the happy winner this evening. Let's see what I am going to win. Amending bylaw Z9. I give notice that bylaw Z29 2017-13 entitled bylaw to amend a bylaw relating to the City of Dieppe Municipal Development Plan to be introduced at a future meeting of council for first and second reading. The second notice of motion for item Z, I give notice of motion that bylaw Z10 2021-15 entitled bylaw amending the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw will be introduced at a future meeting of council for the first and second meetings. Thank you. And unless I'm mistaken, we're at inquiries and announcements by members of council or comments about the beautiful weather that we can take advantage of. So let's begin on by Councillor Godet.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Moi, je n'ai pas grand-chose. Je voulais juste mentionner, j'ai été demandé une couple de questions l'année passée puis de nouveau cette année pour le 15 août. Du moins, parce qu'on avait plus de monde qu'on.
I was just wondering about the 15th of August. We had more people last year than we had expected, and this year it's a Friday night, and it's going to be really nice out. So we have to make sure that there aren't sufficient areas to get a soft drink. Yes, for refreshments.
Et voilà. Non? Et voilà. Encore. Voilà.
J'ai
J'ai
le
de la misère
plaisir
à trouver le centre.
Ouais, j'ai le plaisir de vous annoncer qu'on a
Comme
doublé.
un allié gauche, j'ai de la misère à
So-
trouver le centre.
Okay, we went from left to right and back to the middle. Okay, so we've doubled the staff, doubled the number of volunteers, and we hired the cause group. And we're expecting a greater number of people, so we have a greater number of people working to accommodate them. Okay, great. And I'd just like to add that have a good 15th of August, everybody, and everybody is welcome to come join us. All Acadians, there will be activities going on all day long, and I hope to see you there. Thank you. Thank you.
Madame Leboutier.
Councillor Leboutillier. Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing this evening except to say have a great August 15th to everybody. Councillor Jeannette, thank you, Your Worship. Just two brief points. First of all, I wanted to know where we're at on the increase of availability for bylaw officers, and also what is the direct number that citizens can call if they need to call a bylaw officer.
Oui. Okay. Voilà.
Parfait. On l'a vu.
There we go. Yeah,
On a
okay.
embauché un agent de
Now
plus
we've
parce qu'on a
hired
maintenant un contingent de
another
3,
officer,
vraiment,
so we
on
now have
nécessitait d'une équipe
3.
de 4 agents,
We're
donc on a
supposed
un
to be a
poste
team of
affiché.
4 officers, but
Avis à
another
la population,
position
s'il y a des
is
gens qui sont intéressés,
posted.
le poste est ouvert.
So, you know, it's out
Donc,
there, and if anybody's interested in
il y a
becoming a
maintenant
bylaw
plus d'heures de
officer, the
disponibilité. On
position
avait
is
des
open.
congés,
Now
par
there are
ailleurs
more
qui ont affecté notre
hours
équipe. Maintenant,
for
c'est réglé. Vous allez voir
there were
plus
people on
d'agents sur le
holiday, but
territoire,
we have
désormais.
people that's been taken
Puis,
care of. So now we're
contrairement
going
à
to
ce
see a
qui se
greater
dit,
number of officers
on entend des fois des
out in the
rumeurs
field.
comme quoi qu'il n'y a pas d'agents
Now,
les fins de semaine, les
people
soirs, c'est
here
pas vrai.
might
On
hear
a
that
des
there
agents
aren't
les
any
fins de
bylaw
semaine, des soirs, il y en a
officers
qui
on the weekend, but
ont
there are. They are
vécu
there in
cette
the
expérience-là
evenings.
peut-être
They
de
are there on
surprise.
the
Mais on
weekend.
est bel et bien sur la route tous les
Yes,
jours.
we are there
Et
on the
puis,
roads
pour les
at all
citoyens
times.
comme qui
And
veulent
for
directement,
citizens who
le
would like
week-end
to
ou
call
en
somebody
soirée, contacter un agent des arrêtés, ça
directly,
serait quoi le numéro
what would be the number
direct
to
pour les
call
rejoindre?
C'est sur
to the
notre site
direct
web, mais
number?
je vais vous
Well, it's on the website, of
demander
course,
peut-être
but
de passer, puis à la fin de la réunion, vous aurez
perhaps
trouvé
at the
ce
end of the
numéro.
meeting,
J'aurais
I'll
gagné,
find the
vous allez
number
voir.
for you. I'll check
Puis,
because I don't know it by heart.
Parce que j'ai essayé de le
And
trouver, puis
I
j'ai
tried to
Alors, il
find it, and
semblerait que ce
I
serait le
couldn't.
877
It's
5044, mais je vérifierai,
855
puis je confirmerai
877 5044, I think, but I'll check.
Et
Let me
puis,
check and I'll get back
pour
to you.
terminer, j'aimerais juste
And in
offrir
closing,
mes
I
pensées aux
just
personnes
want
qui font
to
face
send
aux
my
feux de forêt
thoughts
en
to
ce
all of
moment,
those people who are facing
les
wildfires
pompiers,
currently,
toutes les équipes qui sont
all of the
derrière,
firefighters,
et
all of the
puis
teams
également
working
les
out
personnes qui
there,
doivent,
and the people
on va dire, réfléchir à
who have
une possible
to
évacuation.
think of the possibility of evacuating.
J'espère que vous
I
restez
hope
tous en
that
sécurité.
everybody
Merci.
remains safe. Thank you.
Merci bien.
Thank
Monsieur le
you.
conseiller Brideau.
Councillor Brideau.
Eh bien, merci, Monsieur le maire.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship.
Bien, bonne fête
And
à tous
have
nos
a great
Acadiens. C'est le temps de fêter, c'est le temps de se
Acadian
rencontrer,
Day.
se
It's the
retrouver
great time to
à
celebrate, to
notre
meet
beau
up with
terrain
people you
ici,
know, new people
tout près
on our
entre
wonderful facilities
Uni
here
et l'ancienne
between
Aréna
the
Centenaire.
Uni and the former Centennial Arena.
Ben, je vous annonce pas rien de nouveau,
And
mais
I'm
on
not
sait tous
telling
qu'il
you
fait
anything
très, très
new,
chaud à
but
l'heure
everybody
actuelle.
knows that it's very
Alors,
hot out there.
on aime bien d'arroser nos gazons,
So
mais
people like
faudrait
watering
penser
their
aussi que même
lawns,
si on n'a
but
pas d'arrêté ou qu'on n'a
even
pas
if there is
interdit
no
les
bylaw
arrosages,
or there's no
c'est
ban
de
on
demander aux gens
watering, I would ask
d'être
people
respectueux parce
to
que
be
lavage
respectful
arrosage de gazon,
and
lavage
watering your
d'auto,
lawn,
lavage
washing your car,
des entrées de pavage, de propriété,
hosing down your
ça l'utilise beaucoup.
driveway.
Alors, on veut
All
pas
of
arriver
that
au point où
is
est-ce que faudra faire un
uses
arrêté
water, and
pour
we don't want to get to the
d'arrêter tout
point
ça.
where we
Il
have
s'agit
to
d'être
adopt a
de
bylaw to
respecter
regulate
quand
all
même
of
la
that.
nature
It's just a
plus
question of
possible.
respecting nature
Et
as much as
bonne
possible.
fin d'été,
So have a
en moins
great
d'août.
end of summer, great
Merci,
end of
Monsieur
August.
Thibodeau.
Thank you, Councillor
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
Thibodeau. Thank you, Your
Moi,
Worship.
j'ai une question,
I
puis
have
ensuite un
one
commentaire.
question
La
and a
question, c'est
comment.
que on a
My
refait
question is
la
this.
rue Gauvin,
Rue Gauvin was
puis
rebuilt, And at the corner of Gauvin and Marché streets, there were pedestrian crossings in the pride colors, but they were repainted, but only in white. Was that not part of the contract? So we moved them. There was one in front of the Wingate Hotel, and there's no one when you go to Acadie on Gauvin Street. But we just moved them temporarily, but we could go back to the same spots next year. Yeah, but it wasn't a part of the contract. No, because we only did it in June. We just proposed that they'd be moved, so we found a new location, but next year we could go back to that area if you want. And now I have a comment on the services offered by our staff during Dieppe events. People I meet tell me how wonderful the service is from our staff, whether it was at the Canada Cup, bike races, or for the Acadian Games, or any other event. Our staff are wonderful, and I think that we should tell them so. We should make sure that they are appreciated. Thank you, Your Worship, and have a great Acadian holiday.
During the Jeux de l'Acadie, we shared a message to all staff that they went beyond everything that they needed to do. The service was excellent. It's great DNA that we have here in Dieppe, and the Racing Cup gave us the same message. Let's not forget that there were many, many volunteers. There's always someone. I don't want to take anyone's thunder, but Councillor Godbout, yes, that's what I was heading to say. At the Ville Centre in Dieppe, there was Canada Cup last weekend. It was truly extraordinary once again. I think it's the 5th year that they've had it at Rotary Park. All volunteers worked all weekend long. You know, they went from the design, the trails, everything. The volunteers have it all in hand, and it's a great part of the reason why it was so successful. They were highly appreciated. Everything was improved, and so thank you to Dieppe staff who did great work and cooperated with us, and all the volunteers really made our city known. It was their mission that weekend, and it was great to see. I also wanted to add my thanks to other, or that's in my comments to others. So be careful of fire. It would be awful to lose many attractions to fire. So happy August 15th and Acadian Day to all Acadians and our friends. Thank you. Councillor Latang. Thank you, Your Worship. I simply wanted to add a word about who talked about wasting water. I was Councillor Brideau. I just had a call from a citizen today. Everyone's concerned by the forest fires and not have any outdoor fires and but there's also a lot of dryness. As Councillor Brideau, we don't necessarily have a bylaw where we ban washing cars or any other activities, but I think it's important maybe to make people aware. Maybe I didn't see this on Facebook or elsewhere, but you know, we're in a period of drought, and this is what, you know, so, you know, instead of washing your roadway, that might be able to wait for a while. So maybe we could just make some people more aware and do some water saving. And on that note, I would like to wish everyone a happy August 15. Please celebrate.
Don't drink and drive.
And don't drink and drive. Celebrate and be safe. Thank you. Thank you. Someone from our communication service who has a few words. Yes, I just want to say that there's a video that was posted about water consumption, but it's a reminder, and it's always good to remind. If the weather continues as it does, you know, this is something that we have to oversee. So thank you all. Thanks to all our staff and team. We
absolument
have
fantastique.
had a fantastic season.
Tout ce qu'on peut demander, on le reçoit.
Everything that we've asked for,
On travaille pour,
we
par
have
exemple,
received.
puis je
We work
veux
for things,
certainement
though,
reconnaître le travail de tous nos employés,
and we want to
des
recognize
membres
all
du
our
conseil,
employees, members of
de
council,
présence aux
and their
événements,
presence at
aux événements
various events,
communautaires. Alors, je vous remercie tous
at
pour
community
votre
events. So I
excellent
thank
travail de
all
ce
of you
côté-là.
for the excellent work
Et
you've been
surtout, lâchez
sharing
pas.
with us.
Bonne fin de
And
soirée.
don't give up. Have a great evening.